Now, when it comes to dating, traditionally it is difficult. Now, in the world of social media, it's even more difficult. But let's make it a bit more complicated. Now you have to date, but your partner has children from a previous marriage or a previous relationship. What do you do? What are the implications? How do you navigate that kind of circumstance? Sometimes when you date people with children, it feels like you're in front of a panel rather than just one person. We'll be talking about children in relationships on this episode of Blue Room Banters, Certified Cool by Premier Cool Soap. I'm Oscar Onyison. Catch me on the other side of this. Welcome to the show. Still Blue Room Banters, Certified Cool by Premier Cool Soap, and I have a great spread of guys here who are going to help me dissect this topic. Children in relationships. They have the experience. Efe, how you doing?
Very well, Oscar.
Great to have you.
Yeah, same here.
Are you breaking a sweat already?
I am actually.
This place is air conditioned, so I'm guessing it's the topic. He's a writer and a fantastic poet. I have Shola also here with me. He's a radio personality, beard gang advocate, and a film consultant. Great to have you here, Shola.
A pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
And last but not the least, a broadcaster and a voiceover artist, a legendary voiceover artist, especially when it comes to the language of Hausa, the one and only Ladani. Great to have you, bro.
Thank you very much.
Do not be deceived by his calm demeanor. He has a lot to say.
This is completely weird. I'm the only one without a broadcaster's voice here.
Well, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that for now, but it's never too late. So I'll just throw it out there, guys. Has anyone here dated a woman at any point in time who had kids or a child?
No, I haven't.
Ladani?
Not
Either.
quite.
Not quite.
Really. Yeah.
All right, so that's it on this edition of...
That was brief, and that's about done. But I mean, there have been.
But would you?
know,
Let's put it
interesting-
out there. Would
There
you?
have been opportunities, and I personally, I have nothing against dating a woman with kids. You know, I used to be married,
Okay.
and I have a daughter. You know,
How old is she?
she's 9.
Okay.
You know, and one thing I know is when it comes to dating with a child, for example, and you know, you're trying to date a woman with a child, there are rules. It's not the same with everything else. Like with dating other people who are, you know, without kids, you actually have to, you know, observe and then approach in a certain way. And most of them always put their guard up because
First.
they feel okay. If this guy is interested in me, chances are he's not looking for something serious because, you know, I have kids. So he's just trying to hit it and quit.
Hit and run.
But, you know, that's not always the case.
What about the flip on you? Like, so have you approached a lady who now
Yeah.
knows you have a daughter?
Yeah.
How is
I
that?
always try to put that up out there as soon as possible because it's easier for guys, let's be real.
It is.
Why
It
is that?
I guess there's societal, you know, factors that come into the role of women within society, or the perceived role or the expected role of women within society, and all of that. So I think most guys, you know, like Shola rightly noted, you know, when they find themselves in a situation with women who are single mothers, you know, it almost feels like this one is going to want to tie me down with a kid that is in mind.
Do you
to tie
just
me
hear
down to
wedding?
marriage.
You hear wedding bells?
You understand? I mean,
Serious relationship.
It sounds just too serious right off the bat.
Yep.
You know, because there's a kid, like I'm a father immediately in this situation, you know, even though that's not exactly the case. So I think, yes, it's definitely a bit more complicated for women than it is for men.
Let me go to Ladani. Now, Ladani is, well, you're a Muslim.
Yeah,
So
yes.
I want to come from that angle because I'm sure it's a different ball game.
Entirely different.
So you're married with 2 kids,
With
right?
2 kids, yes.
Now, before you got married, did you come across or hint or have any inclination towards any woman who probably had a kid?
As a matter of fact, I actually wanted to get married to someone who already had kids.
Okay.
Because to me, I think the experience really matters. It counts a lot because she knows how to go with, you know, how to go with kids. She already knows what to expect, and you would be dealing with a more advanced mind over there. Instead of, no offense to the single ladies over here, because you're like kicking from start. You're jumping from scratch. And to a woman who already has kids, I mean, you're like 50% gone already. 50% have through the journey already because she's going to give you ideas on what to do and what not to do. I can see somebody shaking their head over
I
there.
can see the comment section now. Like that guy's But for you, was culture a factor or religion a factor?
Yes, kind of religion was kind of like a factor because she was, you know, from the Christian angle. And
Okay.
he is a Muslim. He got married to her and things just kind of really got messed up. But at the end of the day, he still doesn't want her to, you know, to move forward.
Do you think you didn't fight hard enough?
You should be fighting for something worth fighting for. It is, but to her, she didn't see the value. She wanted to go back because of the kids, and people mistake the fact that you have to be happy to make the kids happy. And so, but she wanted to just make the man happy because he gave her the picture that he was coming back and everything was going to be A-okay, and then, you know, he just swirled her around and moved on. You know?
We have an interesting story, or I have an interesting story to share after the break. Just to pivot on what you just said, when it comes to the choice between a possible future partner and the happiness of your kids. It's still Blue Room Banters, Certified Cool by Premier Cool Soap. We'll be back after this. Certified Cool by Premier Cool Soap. Great to have you back. This is Blue Room Banters, and we are just getting it on. Now, this story, when I first heard it, I was like, damn. And then I was like, double damn. Now, here's the case, guys. A guy and a girl start dating, and it's going on very well. The lady, after maybe a couple of, let's just say a couple of weeks, feels the need to share the information with this guy. He says, oh, dude, by the way, I have a kid. Guy is taken aback, like, okay. And he gets introduced to the child, and they continue dating, and then she drops another bomb, like 6 months later, oh, I have another kid.
Oh.
So here's my question. As the guy in this equation, what do you do? Do you take on this second child information and continue dating, or do you be like, whoa, you know what? I don't know if there's a third or fourth kid out there. Let me just, you know, bounce and cut my losses. What would you do?
Holding that back for that long
Yeah.
is already a, let me say, red flag. There's nothing wrong with having 2 kids, 3 kids.
I'd like
four,
to hear the
four,
reasons.
yeah.
I'd like to hear
For
the
holding
reasons.
back.
Yes, for holding
Does
back.
it matter?
And for...
Does it matter?
Ladani, does it matter?
I think it does. I think it does.
It does. Why
I think
should
it
why
does.
Okay,
should
so let's assume,
important
okay, so she
information.
held back for 6 months, right?
Yes.
Off the top of your head, what could be, give me the craziest reason that is still somewhat plausible?
The only reason
It
is that
could be fair.
fear of what?
Fear of even telling you I have kids in the first place.
No, but your kid is your
And-
kid.
Well, maybe the courage is coming up instrumentally. You know, like,
For 6 months. She was-
50% courage, one child.
Ladies and gentlemen, please
50%.
click on the link
Another
below for
child.
courage, for how to get courage.
She was able to hide it for 6 months,
Really?
though. 6
You
months.
know, I don't
That's
know,
a
but I
long time.
think I would like to hear the reasons. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to be cool with it.
So that's where I
Definitely.
want to go. I want to know what you will be cool doing. Would you forgive her and, you know, just hold her accountable? Like, look, is there any other thing I need to know? And then move on from there? Or would you just cut it off?
No, I won't cut it off.
Ladani, what would you do?
I'm sorry, but I would cut and run.
Oh, you know,
Yes.
just you cut and run.
And run. Because honesty is it's something you come out the gates, right? A relationship is something that might last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can, you know, dilly-dally about with. You can't tell me part information and then much later on you come out with, what's to say 9 months you're going to, you know, she won't pop up and tell me she's married. She's still married to somebody.
But you guys said on this very table that it's more difficult for women. It's easier for guys, but it's more. So why don't you cut her some slack?
Yeah, it could cut you some slack if you said, oh, I have 2 kids first week.
For
But
now.
then to wait for 6 months. So let me say she had her reasons, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around what
Yeah.
it could possibly be. But my point here is, so the first time you say, oh, I have a kid, we will have conversations. It's not like during the 6 month period, I'm assuming I traveled to war or something, or maybe I was not, we were not talking for 6 months, and then he said, oh, by the way, we didn't speak, so this is the part I wanted to tell you, but there was network problems. It's been 6 months, in that period, there would have been hints, there would have been questions, there would have been, maybe the younger one would have said something about my brother, or sorry, or there would have been opportunities.
But I mean, you're a you're a film consultant.
Yes.
Does this sound like a great movie script?
Oh, absolutely. But it's just that it will end. It's just it'll be like as soon as I said, oh, by the way, I have another kid. Just see, glory be to God. The end. That's the end. Because for me, the reason I would subscribe to what he said as well, to cut and run, is for you to hold that back.
Mothers are traditionally mother hens,
Yeah.
so they protect their young.
Hey, let me jump in. I think it's quite normal for a woman, just like you said, she's a mother hen, to protect her young, to protect her offspring. But you see, most times, a lot of the ladies, a lot of the single mothers out there are single mothers because they have refused to let go of the child, to the fathers. I have a typical story. My first kid is not with me right now. He's with the mother, and she has refused to let him go.
Sorry, when you say she refuses to let the
Yes,
child go, what do you mean? Like in your custody, to let the child into your custody?
She has refused. But for some, it's because they want child support. Now and then the father, sends a few grants, a few, checks her way to take care of a lot of things, and so therefore she makes it the norm. I'm sorry, ladies out there, but it is a fact. A lot of women withhold the child from going to their fathers, and that is the problem.
Some watching might argue the fact that women raise better men
Yes.
because of the qualities.
I think women.
So
raise
Shola,
better.
you have a 9-year-old daughter, right?
Yes. So the reason I felt like I had to step in is, okay. So in the event, God forbid, you have a daughter, right, and the mom is unavailable. God forbid, let's say she passes away. Would you now feel the need to rush to marry a woman just to make sure your daughter is raised, or in the event, let's say, you guys are together, and then you, God forbid, something happens to you, and then she's left with the boy. Would she now have to look for a male companion to make sure she raises the boy? I feel, as far as raising kids, if it's a woman raising a man, look, he'll be more compassionate. Also, he would be in tune with his emotions. We will know that for sure. And we know there are a lot of us guys here who, we are not. We can't even express ourselves the way we want to because of we're raised to be thick-skinned and men and drink beer
I think
on.
the bulk of the ego problems you find with men, comes from the idea that it's a man that raises a man, so the
Men
man
don't cry.
Yeah,
and all those.
yeah, those things are reinforced, with that. But I think there's also the angle of absentee fathers. There are more absentee fathers than there are absentee mothers.
Yes.
So, I mean, in many, many situations, you have single women raising fantastic men.
Because this is about dating now.
Yeah,
Your daughter, does she stay more with you or with the mother?
with her mom.
Is that by choice, or if you had your way, you will have your daughter with you all the time?
I think it's by choice, also because, I'll be honest, it's probably a selfish, it's probably me being selfish.
This should be
But what I
interesting.
try to do is I make sure I see her every week. And then we have we go out to a pizza date, or we chill and we watch movies and so on. And yeah, that's so I try to do the best I can. Now, the thing is, I still feel I'm not doing enough.
I want to believe that sometimes dating people with children brings out the best in you as a guy. Number one. Number two, it lets you cut to the chase quicker. There's no room. You're not going to be dating like you're a single guy in uni or whatever. You're dating with a purpose towards an end. So in your case, do you think your current situation has made you more tuned and fine-tuned your process of dating?
I think one thing it has done for me is make me a bit more empathetic, towards women generally. Because I also have a marriage that didn't quite work out. So I have an ex on the other side who's a single mother and who's dealing with this. So I'm compelled to be empathetic to understand that. It's a three-way thing automatically when you are separated or divorced and you have children. There's you. It's a four-way thing even, and maybe five. Very complex. There's you, there's the kids, there's your ex, and there's the person you're trying to date, and then there's their family.
What should be your stance if the in-laws to be don't really dig you?
Yeah, I'll completely understand it.
They see you as a guy with kids. Like, leave our daughter, let her go with a fresh guy. Quote unquote.
Yeah, it's actually a real thing, you know. And I think the best way to approach it is from a place of understanding. I have a sister who was going to get married to somebody who had an ex as well,
Okay.
you know, an elder sister. And once the conversation came up, my reaction was, hey, chill.
You shut it down.
No, I didn't. But I also felt like this guy has been married before. He left his wife. What happened? So there's a natural concern that kicks in.
But
from
did you
that
take
side.
time to actually know the guy?
I mean, right off the bat. I mean, I don't even care who the guy is.
Were you divorced at this time?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't
Okay.
even
Oh.
married at this
Oh.
time.
I
You know,
understand.
so
But
yeah.
would you
it's
still
easy
take
for
the
me.
same stance
I used
now?
to take the same. No, of course
Obviously
I would.
not.
Of course I would.
I mean, in
You
my
know,
case,
so,
I had it.
so,
Okay,
so
yeah.
now if I'm dating
This is
somebody
interesting.
You're more
whose
empathetic.
parents and siblings
Yeah.
have issues, I understand completely.
Your blood don't
Yeah.
calm
I
down.
understand completely.
Did your
with
sister
that.
marry the guy?
She did, and it turned out
did.
to be a fantastic.
Of course,
fantastic
man. Of
relationship.
course.
Did
One
you-
of the things
yeah, go on.
one of the things that I notice always happens. I've heard this phrase, "Don't worry, God will give you your own." Right? That's what she told me. Her mom said.
Oh yeah.
I've heard it many times.
So you're
you know?
not, as long as you have a kid,
So
you're
if
not,
you have a kid,
you're
you're
not
married
the one.
before. It's like, no, you're already
Taken.
damaged goods. So as much as I always, as I said
Tokumbo.
before, like exactly, like women have it rough. Yo, guys have it rough too. Because
Guys have it rough. Guys have it
that
rough.
guy has already gone through that. So you know, it's not fresh.
And I think there's a cultural thing in Nigeria.
And then there's
in
also
Africa
another thing as well. Like some guys would feel, look, I'm team one child. I just don't want to have another kid. So that presents another problem as well. Or
That's,
maybe you have
that's
two
an interesting
children,
angle. So you meet a girl, she
yeah.
has a child, that's all she wants, but you're
Yes.
the guy, you want
and you
more,
want more,
and she shuts it down.
That is so. It's like there's so many things to
Layers.
There's so many.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like for some guys, it's like, look, I don't want to have another child.
yeah.
I'm good. I don't subscribe to the idea of having more than one. And then you meet a girl who's maybe younger.
Yeah.
She obviously wants to have
wants to
kids.
have children, yeah.
So now the thing is, do you tell her then, from the jump, I'm not trying to have kids, or do you wait till she falls in love and you be like, yo,
Maybe
by
6
the
months
way,
later, kind of
6 months later, now say, yo, by the way, I'm not trying to
my
have kids.
practical position has always been,
Yeah.
I have 2 kids. I'm not keen on having another child.
Sorry,
Yes,
let me just
yes.
take this from Ladani.
Yeah.
What would be your take if you meet this woman and the children or the child, they're grown and they just don't dig you?
But that's a big problem.
They just don't like
That's
you.
a big one. That's a big one because
They,
you know
they are more, maybe they are more
yeah.
attached to their old dad. Or they just don't
yeah.
like you, and that causes a problem for the woman you're
Yes,
dating. What do you
yes.
say? What do you say?
They will gang up against you, man. And when kids don't like you, I'm sorry, man.
can't.
Haul your behind and just keep
End
going. Don't look back, because there are certain emotions that we should try to sever instead of really trying to get connected
fix.
to. Yes, you cannot separate a mother from her kids. You cannot come in between them. And if they don't like you, I'm sorry, but game over. Just move on.
Do you agree with that, Shola?
Yes, and I'll say don't try too hard. You know, so I'll go to my ex-wife's house, and maybe there's a guy there, and he's like,
Awkward.
"Hey,
Awkward.
you know, Lulu, her," and I'm like, "What are you,
Okay, Lulu is your daughter, right?
yeah.
Who wants
What are
where,
you
why?
doing?" Like, you know, it's like, "Do you like this?" I'm like, first of all, I can't say anything because you know, maybe I'm at the dining table because I try to respect.
The
You know, the
space.
space.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see him trying very hard, like,
Hey,
what
Lulu.
is this you're watching on Nickelodeon? And I'm like, it is SpongeBob, bruh. Everybody knows SpongeBob. But I'm there on the dining table just trying to keep quiet. But then I noticed that for a lot of guys, they try too hard. If the kid is not going to like you, the kid is not going to like you, even if you buy such and such. So, but if the kid doesn't like you, it's game over. It's done. So just don't try too hard.
There's a lot here. It's still Blue Room Banters, certified cool by Premier Cool Soap. We'll be back after this, and we're going to talk about the boundaries. Where are the boundaries? Where do they start? Where do they stop? What do you and don't you do? And I think Shola is going to lead the discussion on that. He's got experience in that. We'll be right back after this. Great Great to have you back. Still Blue Room Banters, certified cool by Premier Cool Soap. Efe, Ladani, and Shola in the house. We're talking about children in relationships and relationships in children. At what point do you have a discussion with your ex? What are the do's and don'ts when you're in that scenario as the father to your child, but your wife is dating another guy?
Well, it's a very sensitive situation because if you are not careful, you might come off as jealous, and at the same time as well, you don't want to seem like you're imposing. To say, I must dictate to the type of guys you date. No. For example, I remember dating this lady, and then, I thought maybe the relationship was going somewhere. And so I said, okay, maybe it's time for you to meet my little princess. And so, I bring her over, and then, they play video games. It's fun. It's nice.
Really?
Yeah, and then it's going well. I'm in the kitchen cooking, just feeling like, oh, it's so nice. And then, but unfortunately, that didn't work out. And I forget about, the fact that my daughter had already met her. And so fast forward maybe 2 months later, and she's like, and in the back of the car, oh, how is Auntie? And because, she was very...
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I had to now start explaining why and how. And I realized I actually should have considered her feelings more, or should have considered
How many times have you had to explain this to your daughter?
How many times?
Yeah, just curious.
Once.
I agree with Shola in the sense that this thing has to look like it's going somewhere serious before any introductions are made, vis-a-vis the kids. And I also think that introduction also has to take into consideration the mother of the children as well. So if I'm going to introduce a woman to my kids, I think it's only fair I let my ex know that there's somebody in the picture and I'd like her to meet the kids.
I mean, this is an ideal situation, but you might find some ex who just want to frustrate the heaven out of you, because if you guys could come to a common ground, there's a likelihood maybe there wouldn't have been a divorce in the first place. So there's a communication gap. How do you fix that, Ladani? I mean, what do you say when the couples in question are not really getting along? The separation has given them space, and the only thing binding them is that child or children. Like, how do you navigate that?
In relation to what you just asked, being that if the mother of the kids is trying to frustrate the situation, then I will let her know. If you do it, you're just going to put yourself in bad light because the kids will know. Yes, I have to play safe. At the end of the day, you can't just be somebody being slapped around because this one doesn't want you to move forward. Some kind of petty mentality that is existing in a lot of relationships these days. He or she is your ex, but you don't want to see them happy. It makes absolutely no sense.
But it's the reality. There's some exes that don't want to.
It happens. And sometimes women hold out hope, and you may not even know. Even your ex can be holding out more hope that maybe we'll sort this thing out. And then there's another woman in the picture.
And throws a spanner in the works.
And that's like,
Ladani, you want to say something?
I'm saying sometimes you have to put your foot down. You have to be real straightforward about it. Like, yo, look, this is happening, and you just better get used to it. If the person is giving you an attitude, because
Ladani's not here to play.
I'm straightforward with that because, yo, look, if the person is giving you attitude, that's probably the reason for the separation in the first place. If you cannot come to terms and you cannot evolve over time and learn and actually accept the reality of life and say, okay, this person is a better person today because he's not with me, and then let me let him go, and maybe I'll find somebody else that will make me a better person also, then it's a problem. That's probably the reason for the separation.
But here's my question now. You are the two elephants, and the child or children is the grass suffering. Don't you feel a need to hold back sometimes on the commando style, so to speak, and put into consideration, like your son's feelings? Do you think your happiness trumps your child's happiness, or vice versa?
The lack of my happiness trumps my child's happiness, because if you don't love yourself, how the heck are you going to be able to love your kids? So if I'm not getting some, my kids are not getting, and it's a valuable aspect that I'd be getting some anyway. So
I think this is a classic scenario of the, when you go on airlines and they say the masks should drop. You don't put it on the kid first. You put it on yourself, so you can be alive to save your kid. What do you think that should be like the fundamental do's and don'ts? For anyone watching here who wants to date, first time single mother or first time single. What are those?
First of all, if you're freshly, if it's brand new, You need to ease into it. Don't rush into it. That's one of the first ones. Second, also avoid the revolving door situation. That's before a different person that you're introducing to your kid.
Oh, okay.
Make sure it is somebody that you know is constant.
I think first you have to be ready to be sure you're ready to start a new relationship.
A new chapter.
Yeah, and for that to happen, there has to be, you know, a proper audit of what went wrong the first time, what role you played. I think it's important to understand those things, you know, to deal with the past before you try to move forward.
This should be interesting. Ladani, do's and don'ts.
Why is this supposed to be interesting?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I say let it marinate. Just let it slide in. Don't let your emotions, you know, rile you out. Don't let it twirl you upstairs so much that you don't have to think with this and not with this. Because as they say,
that. Or that.
The heart is the dumbest part of a human being. You let it think and you don't get clouded with too much emotions and wrong decisions.
Man, that came out nicer than I thought it would. My man. So, I mean, you heard the guys. There's so many dimensions to this, but we can only touch on so much. I think the fundamental things are relationships based on mutual respect, based on compromise. A lot of successful relationships, partnerships, marriages is based on compromise, give and take. But like Ladani rightly said, if you're not happy, there's no way you can give true happiness and love to your children. And that balancing act is probably one of the greatest challenges you're going to need to manage. And I really do wish you all the best. Don't forget to have fun along this journey, and more importantly, don't forget to love one another. It's been great talks on Blue Room Banters, certified cool by Premier Cool Soap. I am Oscar Oyinso. Catch you next time on the next edition. Bye for now.